So good morning, everyone. Welcome to our Tuesday Namaste session. We began with the recording of that chant, Ishq Allah Mabud Allah, Allah Ya Jamil. God is love, lover, and beloved. One thing. If we just said God is the beloved and I am the lover, then we're separated out. Love itself, and love cannot be separated because love is all there is. Love is God. God is love, lover and beloved. I love that chant because it brings that together so beautiful. And once again, the name Allah resonates so deeply with me. I hope it does with you as well. Sometimes we may have issues with words. We've talked about that before. Issues with language. Just the word God can trip people up. But for me, Allah, there's something so soothing about it. And even, very mainstream Christians who might say, well, that's the Muslim God, or that's just the word that Muslims use. Well, that's not even true because there are millions of Arab Christians. And this is what they say, Allah. Allah just means God. There's only one reality. We can call it anything you want, but for me, that word Allah, 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 over and over, it calls me to pray without ceasing. And in this journey that I've been walking with St. Francis in my dreams, I keep seeing him in my dreams, and it's almost like we're walking together and he's teaching me these different things. And one of the things that I've learned when Francis was returning from Egypt and the Holy Land, his journey through the Muslim countries, which affected him so much, especially his time at Damietta, when he spent 20 days with the great Sufi master Al-Din al-Farisi, this great lover of God. He learned a new way to pray without ceasing. Of course, this is something that Francis always strove to do. But using the name Allah, the idea is to keep it always on your lips, always in your heart, always in your mind. So when Francis and Illuminato were returning to Assisi, they spoke hardly at all the entire journey because they were both practicing this beautiful gift that the Sheikh had given them. And let me try to explain this and demonstrate this to you because I've been doing it myself and it's so beautiful. If you just say the word Allah, basically it's just the sound ah with a little la, and when you say la, you can notice that your tongue, just say la, you'll notice that your tongue just kind of tips up to the top of your mouth, just behind your front teeth. Allah, 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 Allah. And so this is, and if you don't make a sound, your breath does it as well. Every breath you take is a praise to God. Every breath you take with consciousness is a prayer. And so what Francis and Illuminato would do is they would just basically the tongue would just be back and forth like this. And so they would be praying the name of God hundreds and hundreds of times a minute as they walk. Now, if you're just saying the word, obviously that's not going to do anything on its own. It will, but the idea is to use that as a focus. So when I've been doing this, what I do is I'm focusing on my third eye. I'm imagining the breath going to my third eye, which is connecting me with that divine reality. So sometimes I'll do like 4 on the in breath and 4 on the out breath, like this. Or some other times what I'll do is no, on the out breath, I'll say ah, and then on the in breath 4 la 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 la. I'm just showing you what I'm doing. It sounds kind of silly to explain it this way, but I think you're getting the idea. The idea is to find ways that can help us keep this consciousness, this focus, constantly. As St. Paul said, to pray without ceasing. To realize, as the chant shared that we heard this morning, God is love, lover and beloved. Lover and beloved in one, because love is one. And when my mind and my heart and my soul are focused in that direction, as much during the day as I possibly can, even with something as simple as just flicking the tongue to the top of the roof of my mouth so that I can be mindful of the divine presence. This is a very powerful and very simple thing we can do. So I encourage you to try it if that makes sense. If it doesn't make sense or if it doesn't resonate, that's fine. But I would suggest find something. Find something. Like the name Yahweh, for example, it also corresponds with the breath. Breathing in. Same thing. So every breath can be a mindful prayer if we just use it as such. Okay, so that was a bit of an introduction. Now what I want to share, we're going to go back a little bit. Months ago, you know that I started taking this book from the early part of the 20th century, The Impersonal Life, and I thought I was just going to go through and make it more modern, change the language a little bit to make it more palatable to the modern ear. But it quickly became something else. It was as if that same voice that was speaking to Joseph Brenner was speaking to me, the Holy Spirit, or my own I am consciousness, which is the same thing. The I am within me, which is the same I am within each one of us, kept expanding and changing the direction to the point that we just put away the impersonal life and this became the impersonal light. And so Baraka has been helping me to put this together as a book. And I've been adding some commentary, but I won't read the commentary, but I thought maybe we would go back to some of these beginning lessons because they are so potent and they are so focused on us realizing one thing. I am that. Once again, lover and beloved. There's only one thing going on. There is no God. There is only God. La ilaha illallahu. There is no God but God. And we begin by realizing this intellectually, but then we breathe with it, we sit with it, we meditate with it, we love it, and it begins to sink into our heart and become a real experience. And it's the experience only that we're seeking. So let's see if this can trigger that experience with us as well. I'm going to read chapter 1, which is I am. So just take a deep breath and see if you can drink this in. See if you can just breathe this into your soul and allow it to guide you into the experience. To you who are ready to hear, I speak. To you who have been seeking the truth for so long, in books and teachings, in philosophy and religion, to you whose soul is weary and discouraged and almost destitute of hope, to you who thought you found the truth in some great teacher, or through some spiritual society or religion, only to find that the so-called master or society or religion were subject to the same human frailties you subjected yourself to. I am here. And to you, who have begun to feel the presence of that truth, the experience of that truth within your soul, and you seek the confirmation of that which has been vaguely struggling for expression. To all you who hunger for the bread, the true bread of life, once again, I am here. Are you ready to receive me? If so, then listen closely. Still your human mind and follow the words I'm about to share. Otherwise, you'll turn away disappointed, with an aching hunger still in your heart. So here's the question. Who is it that speaks with such seeming knowledge and authority? Who is it that's talking to you here? And here it is. I love this answer. I am you. Of course, the words I am are capitalized and bolded. I am you, the whole of you, who is and knows, who knows all, and always knew, and always was, rather. Yes, I am you, your true self, the transcendent innermost part of you that quickens when you hear this truth. For I am your real teacher, the only one that you will ever know, the only master that you need. I, or the I am of you, offers this message, the living word, to teach you that I am your true self, the only teacher and the only God that exists in the universe. You've always known this, but have been unable to translate it with a definite, tangible experience. I am not your human mind, nor its child, the intellect. I am not your mind or its child, the intellect, for they are expressions of your finite being, just as you are an expression of my infinite being. You are an expression of my infinite being. They are but phases or aspects of your human personality, just as the truth in you is a phase of my divine impersonality. I love that. All of those things that you've claimed before are but phases or aspects of your human personality, just as the truth in you is a phase of my divine impersonality. So rise up and free yourself from the domination of your personality with its self-inflicted and self-inflated, self-glorifying mind and intellect. From this point on, your intellect must become your servant if my words are to penetrate to your soul consciousness. Just a little bit more. It's time to lay aside all your private and personal fancies, beliefs and opinions, which are nothing more than the rubbish you gathered but do not really need. Then my word will be to you a source of endless joy and blessing. But here's a warning. Be prepared to have your personality or your ego doubt my word. That's the job you gave it. Its very personality, or its very life rather, is threatened by this truth. The very life of your ego is threatened by this truth, for it knows it cannot live, and it cannot thrive and dominate your thinking and your feeling as it once did. Yes, I am come to you now to make you conscious of my presence. I've always been with you, but you did not know it. You dared not know it. But I am here now to lead you through the wilderness and to help you finally perceive the vision of the promised land, feeding you with manna in the desert, that you might remember and value and long for the bread of the Spirit. I have brought you to the river Jordan that separates you from your divine inheritance. I love that. You've come to this holy space between heaven and earth. The time has come for you to consciously know me. The time has come for you to cross over into Canaan, the land of milk and honey. Are you ready? Do you want to go? Then follow my word, for I am the ark of the covenant that you seek. Those are some powerful, powerful words. And the key is that they're not coming from a book, or you're not hearing them from me. You're hearing them from you. This is your message to you, lover and beloved. There's only one thing that is ever happening in this universe, and it's you. And the moment has come. We've been led to the river that separates the desert from the land of milk and honey, the illusion from heaven, this holy borderland. And now you are ready to cross it. The question is, do you want that? It means that who you thought you were needs to dissolve. It needs to recede so that the truth of you, the I am presence within you, can step forward. The truth has always been true. We just now need to allow that truth to dominate, to vibrate, to illuminate everything so that we can finally see the divine everywhere. So that was a lot to take in. I hope you got a little bit of that. And I'm going to turn it over to Vicky to bring it to an even higher height. Good morning, Vicky.
Good morning, Jimmy. I'm on Teddy's computer, so I didn't know where mute was. Anyway, I love the theme of the zikr because following the zikr is like following the fire. And so yesterday, and over the weekend, I've been paying attention to the natural zikrs in our lives that we take for granted. Because it all depends on where our intention is or our desire. So if our desire is for God, for love, then if we follow that, we see that we're naturally led through our many, many daily activities. So I noticed that clapping, I was watching something and I thought it was so terrific. And I was just clapping. I was all by myself, watching something on YouTube. And I'm just like, but I realized what it did was it was a zikr because the clapping was a giving and it had no thought except a joining and a giving and an appreciation and a love. And when I was done, it was that same state of vibration, of frequency, of realization, maybe minor realization, but there's no minor love. So follow the fire, follow the love, and let it be everything. So what was the other thing I was doing? Oh my gosh. Oh, I was listening to music and Teddy was with me. Of course, with Teddy, we listen to classic rock. And he's being very generous. So he put on what I like, and he put on Gregorian chant. That's how two different peas in a pod we are. So he puts on Gregorian chant. And oh my gosh, I said, now I understand why the church used Gregorian chant, because it's the same energy. It's somehow an energy of repetition that stills the thinking mind and opens the heart. It seems to be that simple. And if we don't try to work it, it works us. It just brings us still into that place of home that is an integrated experience vibrationally. And then there's nothing to do but rest in it and open to it and follow it. So I don't know. So I've been watching the natural places where if our intention is for love, for God, for spirit, it's always right in our daily life, right in front of us. And so that was the other one. I was chopping vegetables. Of course, I'm always chopping vegetables, chopping little vegetables. And it's the same thing. So of course it's the intention and the desire, but it's like a beautiful, it's like a fun game to play with our own consciousness, with the whole, and find that we're always right there. And whatever triggers it is a stilling of thinking and an opening of this one experience of being loved and loving at the same time, where there's no difference, that we are that love, and to stay with it, whether we applaud or we ishkala abud Allah. And I wanted to say, I am one of those Christian, Middle Eastern Christians, Melkite and Maronite in our family, but no one ever had a conversation. growing up in my life, and my parents and grandparents all spoke Arabic, without saying ishkallah. So if you, I'll see you later, go to work, ishkallah, I'll see you later this afternoon, ishkallah, which means God willing. That's all it means. Ishkallah, because there are no computers, no clocks, no, and there's no remorse if you miss a meeting or if you didn't get there on time or if something came in the way, because it was an assumption. Ishkallah, God willing. If that's God's will, it'll happen. We'll meet. If it isn't, it'll meet again another way, another time. And that was the fundamental thinking, even in the mind, what that I grew up in, and I'm sure many grew up in. And that word Allah, 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 Yahweh, those sounds emanate from our being, and they carry us. It's another way to follow the fire. So anyway, let's live, especially with what's going on in the world today. There's no way to with reason and with ego thinking this side, that side, right or wrong. If we can keep our consciousness in the light, and I feel that we are all being called to active duty that way. We must keep our consciousness in light, and then we're all led what to do, where to go, what to say, who to vote for, what rally to go or not go, or whatever it is. But we must keep our consciousness in the fire of love, in the fire of light, because the only solution here in time, the solutions don't come at the level that they appear at. We all know that. They come from the level of cause, and we are the I am consciousness of cause. If we identify fully there and stop trying to figure it out here, it will, like everything else, figure us out and bring us to be the help, to be truly helpful wherever we find ourselves. So, thank you. That was a political break.
That's beautiful. That was really beautiful. The bottom line is that every moment can be a zikr if we choose. And when we allow that I am presence to penetrate, then we enter into a state, I could take everything that you sum up, Vicky, and say it's the state of divine indifference. In other words, I don't have to choose you or that or something else. I can just stay right in the center of that ishq Allah, mabud Allah, lover and beloved, and just stay there unmoved. And if there's a choice that needs to be made through me, like you were saying, go vote for a certain candidate, but I'm not moved away from that center point. I think this has been the challenge for a lot of us, certainly for me. You turn on the news, I'm immediately moved from my center point. But if I can just stay with this experience, whether it be chanting or the quick little ah la 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 that I was sharing before, whatever it takes, whatever resonates with you, do it. Whether it be singing a chant like we shared in the beginning, whatever it takes to get you to that center point where your personality, your needs, your desires begin to dissolve into the desires and the reality of the beloved itself. And then you can just be guided, be in that state of divine indifference. You don't have to figure it out. It will figure you out if you allow it to. Such a beautiful, simple message. So thank you, Vicky. That was gorgeous. And thanks to everyone.